God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Young People Nation. Or whenever you're listening, we're thanking each of you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, and spreading the word out in the community about this mental health platform. Okay, we're in session 2 with Mr. Jonathan Barnes. Now, again, if you missed session 1, this young man is a storyteller through his music. He's a future businessman. He's a natural-born leader of the community, a revolutionary at heart, a work in progress. But mostly about Jonathan Barnes is that he believes in God. He is a God-fearing man, and he wants to bring a brighter side to everyone that he encounters. So welcome back, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you much for having me, Mother Perry.
Yeah. Husband and I are very blessed to know you, and
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you so much. I tell you, you never know. You just don't know. You know, we never knew in team ministry it was going to come to this day.
Right.
Yes.
True
Okay.
enough. True enough.
So we're going to be talking in session 2. We're going to be talking about the shift. Now, we talked about in session 1 the young Jonathan Barnes, and Jonathan recognized as he reflected back at age 3, he dealt with some mental health challenges, just the traumas of life, death, bullying, and these things began to stack up in his life. Now, he's also he's big on the community. He's an avid studier and reader. However, we're going to talk about the shift in session 2, and that's the 9 to 12-year-old Jonathan Barnes and his created community. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
he created a community. Now, what caused you to create the outside group or the community?
What caused me to create the outside community was mainly the influence and the how could I say, the sight of the power held within a lot of previous communities that were already created, and some that had a stronghold before my birth, some that still have a stronghold in our communities now as I'm growing in 22 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that there were strength in numbers and strength in those who shared the same beliefs, I wanted to become a leader of soldiers against bullying, so to speak. Because of the bullying I dealt with my prior years, and seeing how it affected me, you never know which other people around you are facing the same troubles and thoughts that you're facing, or darker troubles or thoughts. And I wanted to be the one to alleviate those stresses and lend that helping hand through my community. You know.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
that middle child. They're the ones, boy. Like they will give it to you, and they're going to
ma'am.
create something that, because you were at a point, I take it, that you just tired of that
Definitely.
and tired of looking at that.
Definitely.
So what can I do to stop that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you created an outside group, a community. Was it young men and young women, or just young?
Young men and young women. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so you all were like a little mini family.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so you feel the feeling of belonging, the feeling of this group even though you had an awesome mom, and you still do have an awesome mom, father, mother, you had the church, you had your siblings. However, you felt the need that you had to go and create another community for yourself.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
belonging. Talk about that belonging and the safe space for you, and you felt some form of things getting done.
Yes, ma'am. Within that community, I felt not only the sense of belonging because, true enough, I was the founder of it, but knowing everyone who had a problem confided in me with those problems. And knowing that for those who didn't have the self-defense tools needed to fight back against bullies, if I or other warriors within my community weren't present to defend, I had martial arts classes I was teaching on the playground. So for those who was getting bullied, come meet me over here next to the gate, closest to our doggone car rider line, and man, you can have all of these tools given to you. Real martial arts training, because in that time frame, I was actively taking martial arts. So I started using what I was learning in my martial arts classes from my Sambanim and bringing it to the students that needed help becoming their Sambanim in a way. Yes, ma'am.
And this is age 9 to 12 audience, okay? So, again, what I'm hearing and what we have heard from Jonathan, he had very present father and mother, siblings, community. However, deep down inside, he felt like he had to do something because you didn't see nothing being done. You just saw your peers just living miserably.
Right.
So I like that you took the baton and said, well, what can I do to help? Because you saw, I'm sure, other young people going by the wayside, and I never dealt with bullying. Personally, I never did. And perhaps because I'm the youngest of 5 and I had a whole army behind me, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had a situation, but again, I knew I could call on my siblings, but you don't want to do that now in this culture because it's truly different than what it was 50 years ago for me.
True enough.
But the whole concept of gathering together, it's in nature itself. It's in groups, as a pack of wolves that get together, or travel as one, or deer travel is in a herd. The concept is instinct, lack problems or lack affiliations. You have the concept to draw into each other, but the whole concept, parents must pay attention to that, because with the internet nowadays, you don't have to be present. You can be on the internet, be thousands of miles away, and be part of the group.
Yep.
And therefore, when you part of that group like that, you form a bond. And once that bond is formed, you have the concept of what is right, what is wrong, what affiliation, what you're going to do next, what you can't work, you can go, where you can meet. And you have a whole different affiliation that is different than the family you live at, because they literally become your family. And therefore, parents lose their focus with your children. You must be aware.
Yes, sir. I am well aware of how parents can lose their focus with the children, especially when you have parents who, yes, may be active and do the best to be active in their children's lives, but jobs or whatever it may be can have you so far, miles and miles upon, miles far
Right.
away from your child.
Yes.
In a whole nother country, while your child is going through a lot of these trials and tribulations they're facing, you're probably fighting out a war, or you're probably doing some other work upstate. You know, there's no telling. And parents don't understand that there's a slight detachment that is inevitable in a way, because when this parent that might have to play this role in your life isn't there, but then you have these outside entities that you end up making inner entities due to the community you might develop or you might become a part of. They become your family. They become the ones that, you know, like in a moment's notice when self-defense is needed, or like backup, whatever it might be called, you got these people and they're here without a shadow of doubt to whichever extent. Yeah. So it easily takes place of certain members of your
Natural
God-given family, your birthed family.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. You know, and as we who are fell in that category, you know, you're busy, spouse was in the military, gone to wars. I'm back with 2 children. Sometimes I had some health challenges. But I had to get up and I had to keep moving because life kept moving. However, when our oldest daughter came to us at 14 and told us what was going on with her, I stopped right there. I said, okay, excuse me. I told my husband, I said, we're too busy. Okay. So from that point forward, she's 37 now. When she's talking with me, I'm engaged fully.
Yes, ma'am.
And if she just need to talk, and I'm like that with both my daughters, they're not asking me to give any opinion. They just want to talk. So I can come in the door. My husband looking at me, he's like, "Who you? I'm on the phone with, you know, one of my daughters, our daughters, okay?" And they just need to talk, and they need to talk at that moment, you know. Yes. And so, because if you don't take out this time, parents, your children will create a community that's listening.
Now let's make that more personal. That
Okay.
if you don't take that time out and do like you just said, your child might not be here in life. There's many instances where the child ran away or got killed because of a situation, but the parent was too busy in life to listen. Yeah, parents keep busy. That they keep concept that church cannot be more important than your family.
Yes.
It's only a building. It'll be there tomorrow. It'll be there next week. It's not going anywhere. But your family, it's on constant move. It's on constant notice. It's on constant changes every day. And therefore, you cannot live for the building, live for Sunday, and then through the week, nobody in the house know who you are.
That's wow. Because at the end of the day, you all know who we are because y'all live with us, right?
Right.
And so that was really good. That was really good. And when we talk about, you know, we are the church. We're his representatives. So my first assignment is to my home. You understand? If I have not taken care of my home, I'm huge on that one. If I haven't taken care of my home, all that outside, that's going to wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Because my attention is here. And some of the young ladies that I have mentored, they laugh at me. They say, "You used to send me home." I say, "Yeah, you need to go home. Go home and take care of your household." You understand? You done been out to work all day. You done ran all over the street. Okay. Then you come talk to me about the situation. We kind of variating a little bit. However, this need to be said. You're talking about the problems in your home. You're not there.
But
Go home.
I get more even more deep into that. I met a young man in the service, and I ministered to him about Christ, and he said, "I don't want nothing to do with no church because when I was growing up, I can remember sitting on the pew doing my homework, falling asleep, and then the next day failing in class because we was at church. And you cannot be numb to reality just to be in the building because you believe by you being there, you bring a change. No, God bring the change.
Mm.
God bring the change. He been bringing the change thousands of years before you were born. And it just changed through his word. And he wasn't in the building when he brought the change. He was walking along and met a group, and they formed the 12, and then the 12 formed the nation.
Which is where faith without works is dead.
There you go.
Comes into play.
Yes.
You can't choose to settle in whether it be a church or wherever the congregation might congregate in fellowship. And find that to be the end all be all.
Yes.
When you're not putting forth any work to bring that change or to better whatever situations. On top of that, like you said, tend to your home first. Because the temple, our bodies are temples, but your household is a temple. Your household is a palace.
Yes.
You know, you cannot go and build up the church or wherever it is that you might fellowship while your palace is breaking down. You got the roof in shambles,
Yes.
you know, and everything going crazy. And you might be knowing of it, you know it, but you don't address the situation and acknowledge the fact that, hey, we need to take time here right quick and put everything else, the worldly things, on hold.
Yes.
That
And audience, this is coming from a 22-year-old. I just want you all to be aware of this. What he just said, a lot of older gentlemen and women too need to hear this. And this is what a young man is expressing. And we're going to back up to your situation between that age of 9 and 12. You've always been very mature for your age. I used to look at you, I'd be like, how old is Jonathan? Wait a minute. Because when you speak of a young man with so much wisdom. So we know that wisdom truly comes from God, but it also you study. You do study.
Yes,
You can tell that you do a lot of reading.
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't come to him if you ain't read. I'm just going to tell you that. So I want to ask you, in your community, how did the bullying stop?
The bullying stopped, sadly, once we started fighting fire with fire.
Wow.
You know, sometimes that's what it takes, I'm guessing. And the bullying surely stopped once everyone seen, dang, it seems like everybody amongst his community can throw a sidekick and come with a roundhouse right after that. And if you're getting back up off the ground, here comes a back fist. You know, you knew there were different things that you didn't have up under your belt, you know, where we didn't have the self-defense tools at first. Me getting into the self-defense and martial arts classes gave me the tools to share with those in need of them. So not to, you know, say in a enlightening way, so to speak, or as if like praising it, but the victims had to become the bullies for the bullies. You know, you had to start bullying the bullies, not picking at them, but the moment you get out of line, this sidekick gonna knock you back in the line. You know, or this roundhouse will.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. So that's what stopped it. They got tired of that fire.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Young People Nation is not promoting violence
At all.
young people.
At all.
Okay.
We're not.
Or audience, we're not promoting that. However, parents, you do need to be aware when your young person is being bullied. And this young man is really expressing what happened in his community.
Correct.
And what helped in his community. Now, what did you learn from this experience?
What I learned from this experience is there are powers in numbers, true enough, but I also learned that one individual can change the direction of life for others as a whole. I find it funny you mentioned the wolves in a pack, because a wolf is my favorite animal. And they became my favorite animal around that same time frame, around 9 or 12 years old. I was watching a National Geographic thing, and one of the wolves amongst the pack, can't remember why I got outcasted. I'm not sure whether it got hurt or what, but they outcasted, the pack did. And that wolf was a lone wolf, but somehow, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a she. She still survived. You know, caught her elk. It took her a lot longer to catch the elk, you know, without the pack. There were a lot of hunts that she fell short on, and you could see the discouragement, you know, in the wolf. But she kept going. She persevered through all of those challenges. And even there came a time when she came across her pack, and they were attempting to take her out, you know, and she had to run and flee, and literally. So I've seen that wolves can move as a pack, or a wolf can be strong enough to stand alone. You know, so for the longest, I had to stand alone.
Okay.
While I'm learning all of those self-defense tactics and things of the sorts, I'm standing alone. And then I started recruiting others that didn't have that bullying spirit upon them, you know. And then I single-handedly started teaching everyone how to self-defend, you know, self-defense for themselves. There we go. That's the way to say it.
Okay.
So I'll say that's what I learned from this experience, that one person can change it all for the whole collective, you know, and make things better depending on what your motives are,
Yes.
what your purpose is.
Because your motive was to stop. You got tired of seeing the people beat up. You weren't coming from a place, and you correct me if I'm incorrect. You weren't coming from a place of, well, I'm a bully you, and but you was coming from a place of you've got to learn how to protect yourself.
Correct.
Okay. I had a gentleman come in my office the other day, to your point of one person. He had came in my office checking on something with his account. And he said, I just want to leave you with this word. He said, someone is counting on your obedience. I felt that. I didn't know that man from a can of paint.
Yep.
So I know that was God.
Yep.
Okay? And so it is key that we be obedient to what God is telling us to do to be able to help 1, 2, 3, however many it's going to affect.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
but to your point that you were one person that looked and saw what was going on. Did you go to the counselors in school? I want to backtrack a little bit.
You know,
was there counselors in school that you could talk with?
We did have a counselor. God rest her soul. We did have a counselor. It wasn't too much avail. The children were just truly troubled.
Okay.
I'll say that, because there's no telling what those bullies were going through that morphed them to become that way.
Okay.
I'd like to branch off just a little bit. There's one child who, oftentimes when I look back on our interactions, I think to myself, what was it he went through, you know, that had him act this way and say these things? You know, all right, for him to be in first grade, he had older people that he was gaining and learning this behavior from. So there's no telling what those bullies were going through.
Yes.
So I'm not going to demean them or label them so bad. I'll say those troubled children. And for those troubled children, you know, I'm not sure what it was, but all I can say is we just need to pray and be mindful of anybody that's showing signs of being troubled. If it's anger, it's from something. If it's sadness, it's from something. You know, be mindful of that, and whether you know them or not, lend that listening ear or that helping hand, you know, to pick that child up and help them progress farther in a better direction.
Okay.
I just want to say this part. Counselors are overwhelmed. The normal school systems and things like that, it's about 1,000 counselors. About 1,000 kids for one counselor.
Okay. Wow. Once again, this has been really, really rich. And I forgot to mention, and thanking all our supporters and sponsors. Thank you all so much. And we're looking forward to the other sessions.
Yes, ma'am.
With Jonathan Barnes. And this is a young man, we know his heart is for the community. So we look forward to hearing great things about him in the community. Now, we'd like to give out our hotline, mental health hotline is 988, and the text home to 741-741. That hotline is free 24/7, crisis counseling. And just in case you're not sure, you can call 211 to get some form of guidance and direction for mental health, crisis, or suicide prevention. Mr. Perry.
Yes, parents, you truly should train up your kids the way they should grow. And they're not departing from it. They are only acting on what they see and learn in the house. So in that note, be careful on what you do. Are you living your life the way you want to live it, or you just existing? This has been Young People Nation, and remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know His word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what He gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going, keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by His love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.